Welcome back to the I Homeschool Myself podcast, where creators and visionaries share lessons life doesn't teach them in the classroom. I'm your host, LaMar, and today we have a very special guest, a trailblazer, a leader, and a history maker. She's not only a force in Michigan politics, but an inspiration for leaders everywhere. Dr. Deirdre Waterman made history as the first female mayor of Pontiac, Michigan, breaking barriers and paving the way for future generations. With decades of leadership experience, a deep commitment to community, and a legacy of empowerment, Dr. Waterman has dedicated her career to revitalizing her city and inspiring change at every level. In today's conversation, we'll dive into her journey, her challenges, and the lessons she's learned along the way. Lessons that every aspiring leader, creator, and innovator can take with them. So let's get into it. Let's just welcome Dr. Deirdre Waterman. Thank you for being here.
So happy to be with you today, LaMar.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. It's an
And
honor.
I see you are breaking barriers too and setting goals, which has been a thrill of mine.
I appreciate that.
Y'all can look forward to seeing me more often. I'm gonna be doing this podcast. It's called the I Homeschool Myself podcast.
It's the ENT.
I had to tee myself up just to become a boss. I had to run that pack up just to pay the cost. I was on that road, ain't have a pot to piss in. Now I'm looking at this M, I made the right decision. I done came a long way.
Well, Dr. Deirdre, it's actually an honor and a pleasure to have you here on my podcast. I guess we just, maybe you could just introduce us to yourself and give us a little history on yourself and some of the things you've accomplished.
And thank you for that very kind introduction. It did hit upon some high notes of my life. I was actually born in New York City. A lot of people think I was born and raised right here in Michigan, but no. I was born in New York City. My father was a physician at Harlem Hospital at that time, and I was born there. So, but we came to Detroit, and that's where actually I was raised.
Okay.
I went to I was in the Mumford High School district, and I studied there. And I came to Pontiac because I met a very fine gentleman by the name of William Waterman. Many people knew about him in Pontiac. He, along with his law partner, Albert Hatcher, were young gentlemen who were kind of breaking the barriers of color barriers in Oakland County court system, and were quite knowledgeable and flamboyant and determined lawyers. So he told me about Pontiac, and he knew that we had a lot of things that we shared in terms of a dedication to community, commitment to working with civil rights and social justice. And so I was in medical school then, but trying to decide where to go do my internship and residency. And he said, "Come on back to Pontiac. I think you belong here."
Wow.
So he sold me on it, and we were married. I came to Pontiac, and it was right in the middle of a very, very interesting time for Pontiac.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons why the law firm was so revered, in fact, the name of the courthouse is named the Honorable William J. Waterman Hall of Justice right here in Pontiac.
Wow.
And with this because of the fact that Bill, my husband, and Albert Hatchett were well known for fighting for social justice and fighting for causes right here in the community. And in fact, they were the ones who tried the first anti-segregation case in a northern school. And that is what brought equity education to all the children of Pontiac. It was a very tense time. That's when we were married, and I came to Pontiac when Pontiac was in an uproar because this was the first case that had been tried like that in the North, and it set a precedent for the rest of the nation. But because of that, because they championed, Bill and Albert, the rights of every child to have equity education, no matter the race, that happened right here in Pontiac. And I was brought here, and I realized all the dedication that it took for them to fight that battle, because it was a very tense time,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a lot of antagonism going on at that time. So much so that they were under a threat, and the FBI would check in with us every day because both Bill and Albert were told had a hit on their lives.
Wow.
So we were that was my introduction to Pontiac, and we were part. I'm glad to be part of that, and because of the fact that my husband meant so much to the growth and progress and equity in the city of Pontiac, that is a legacy for me. And although I wasn't involved in the politics at the time, I didn't know that.
Right.
I was a young doctor practicing ophthalmology.
Mhm.
And I was taking care of patients, and I loved doing eye surgery. And that's how people in Pontiac got to know me, because many of them came in and had their eye surgery or their eye care done. And I was proud of that. And that was my determination, to continue to provide quality eye care. That was a dream that I had, and it wasn't easy to get there, because um, some of the things that I've been able to do in my life and have achieved was because had persistence. Those are the other things I try to pass on to other younger people. I was the first um, African American female ophthalmologist in the whole Midwest.
Wow.
Instead of broke a crystal ceiling there, and I was also the first in some other ways too, as we moved along. And so I always set that as my messaging and mentoring to other young people. Have a dream and don't let anybody tell you no. People were telling me no all my life, but once I had a dream and set with that, then I set my goals and we moved on ahead. So I was very proud to be practicing ophthalmology here in Pontiac and an office in Southfield as well, and supporting Bill as he went about representing people and fighting for social justice causes, making Pontiac my home.
Wow. That's a beautiful story, a beautiful beginning. One of the things that stuck out to me was equity and education. Your husband brought equity and education to the city.
Yes.
And that's something that I'm an advocate for myself. I actually, I have a collection of digital assets.
Okay.
That I'm, deploying into the marketplace and into the world. And my main thing is equity and education. That's what I'm pushing. So
all right,
for you to say that hit home.
Those are good words.
Yes,
yeah,
man.
You know how important that is.
Education and equity. We need that.
So that's one of the things that I continue to be very passionate about. It was actually the thought that I wanted all children to have opportunities, the same opportunities my children had growing up in Pontiac, in terms of an equity education, in terms of safe places to be in a safe city, in terms of having other kinds of community investment in their development as growing up. So actually, I was never intended, never had a thought that I would go into politics. But my first venture into politics was because under Mayor Clarence Phillips, the city was having financial problems, and so he decided that they couldn't afford the library. And I read in the newspaper one day that he was going to close the library in Pontiac. And I was sitting at lunch, and I said, he can't do that. We can't let him do that. What would that say in terms of education and literacy,
right,
for our people in Pontiac, our students as well as our citizens? And I said to the people sitting with me, somebody's got to do something about this. And they all looked at me and said, why don't you do something?
Right.
We'll help you. So next thing I knew, I was off and running. I had no idea, how to approach that. Had not been involved in any kind of politics except through my husband, who was had been a kitchen cabinet for practically all the mayors, because he was respected in terms of his advice. And so we did. I formed a coalition, and I went around. I educated ourselves on how we can save the library and find funding for it. And then I had to go out and sell it to the people of Pontiac, at a time when a lot of people were having trouble financially because of the downturn of the auto industry, which was a major component of the financing for a lot of people who lived in Pontiac. But we did that, and I was committed, spent a lot of time going around from group to group and different kinds of clubs, and talking to them and telling them why it was so important for us to follow that path to save this library so our children would be part of the network, as well as having to bring that kind of amenity to a city our size, to offer that to people. And gloriously enough, people passed the millage with flying colors, you know, and I was so proud. So no good work goes unrewarded. So
That's right.
the next thing I know, the council said, well, you be the chair, and you form the first board. So we did.
Wow.
And then we began to change the library because now it had funding. And the library had been, because it had no funding previously, had been a place just where vagrants hang out. You know, people, children, and residents were afraid to go to the library. But we changed that and we brought that back, and now it's called one of the jewels of the city by the newspapers at that time. So we were proud to have won that. There's a plaque in the library that says, these are the people who saved the library for Pontiac.
And this is the same library that's there right now.
The same library that's right now, but it's a much different library. I'm so proud of the fact that we have brought it back, and now it's funding, it's functioning well.
Wow.
And at the time, that was the only thing that was working in the city of Pontiac, because the city of Pontiac was under watch by the state government, state treasury.
What year was this, or around what years?
So we're talking about 2008, 2009, when all this was going on, and the millage was passing. And so at first I was appointed by the city council, but then after we turned the library around and now people started coming and we decorated it, we got the funding to change the whole collection. All the books were old, and just brought in new management. So I had to run for the library board. And so that was the first election I ever had to run for. So I ran and I won the chairmanship, and then 6 other people were elected to the board. That was a great plus for me, because that was my first step into politics, and it was totally because I just wanted to
make sure
buy some books for the children. That's actually how I got interested in the library. I had belonged to an organization that had a fundraiser, and I convinced them to use all that money to build a children's reading room in our library. And so that's why I was kind of protective of that library, because I didn't want to have invested in it and then have the mayor close it.
Right.
So that's how I had that passion. But I have a passion anyway for education.
Okay.
I think one of the most important things that a community can do is to invest in the development of its children, that next generation. And so having a library, having a good education, opportunities, having opportunities to develop, having people who can mentor you. That was always a part of my philosophy, and my husband's too, in terms of the community. And we were always mentoring young people and realized that we could set the example by telling them our life story and showing them how you can succeed, and telling them you believe in yourself.
Right.
Believe in yourself. Don't let anybody turn me around. I was told no, that I wouldn't be an ophthalmologist because there were no women ophthalmologists in Michigan. And I just said, okay. I just did the work. And sometimes that you're under a stronger spotlight because you are among the first. And that's all right. You just have to carry yourself and believe in yourself. And especially, I'm happy to tell young women now, and then I have some of them who come up to me and say, I don't know that I want to spend the time in being a doctor, or I don't know if I really want to run for office. And I'm always happy to be able to encourage them on and say, you follow your dream. You are enough, and don't let anybody tell you differently. So I'm glad they've had those passions, and I'm glad to be able to pass that on. And that's one of my in my heart, to be able to mentor the young people who come behind.
Wow. Yeah, I agree. They say the children are the future. And so speaking of that, the children are our future. That was back in 2009. You became mayor. You ran for mayor and won in 2014.
I started office in 2014, right. I was chairman of the board of the library. The library had been brought back. And as a matter of fact, some of the pastors had come to me several times and asked me if I'd be interested in running for mayor because they wanted new leadership here. We'd fallen on really hard times, and things weren't going well with the city. And I was very pleased with being an ophthalmologist, and I had told them I don't really want to get involved in politics. I love my profession. I did all this training. I had built up a practice, people that depended on me, and I loved doing that. And so the first couple times, couple of years, they said no. I said no to them. But then the 1 year that I looked at the candidates, this was the emergency manager had been in and had really done a hatchet job on the city. And I said, what can I do in this Pontiac dire need to help to bring the city back? So I thought about it, and 5 days before the petitions were due in, I said, all right, if you support me, I will move forward. So I did that. In 5 days, I got my petition signed, and I filed them, and I was on the ballot. I was on the ballot for mayor, and the good people of Pontiac elected me. So I was very proud to serve because I consider being elected to public office something of pride, but also an honor and also responsibility. Because I honor that in any kind of service. I did as a professional, as a ophthalmologist, and I did in my duties as an elected official. And also, I honor that legacy because my husband's name on that courthouse, a man who loved justice, means I have a legacy that I have to make sure I fulfill in terms of honor and integrity. And that's the way I serve as mayor as well. So it was an honor to be elected. I was the first, as you said, female to be elected as strong mayor in the city of Pontiac. That was a crystal ceiling we broke. And then I was the first one ever to be reelected to consecutive terms. Pontiac had a history of never re-electing a mayor. And so they honored me by saying, we like what you have brought to the city of Pontiac.
So you were the first re-elected mayor.
First to be re-elected to consecutive terms.
Wow.
Yes.
Congratulations.
So that was good. And so
that's beautiful. And so I'm seeing here that Pontiac was actually under quite a bit of a crisis and distress around that time when you became mayor.
Yes.
So could you expound on that?
So Pontiac was one of the cities that was affected by the economic downturn. Pontiac was essentially a General Motors town. So when at one time Pontiac, and let me put it this way, out of the population, one out of every 3 people worked for city government or worked for General Motors. So some cities, of course, had planned what they were going to do in the post and manufacturing stage. Pontiac never did. General Motors was always considered the sugar daddy, the golden goose.
Okay.
And so when there was a downturn in the automobile industry, Pontiac, as well as some other cities along the I-75 corridor, Flint, Saginaw, Detroit went bankrupt, were brought under the Treasury watch because we're going bankrupt.
Wow.
And there was something in the state of Michigan, instituted by a Republican governor, called the emergency manager. And that meant that if states did not meet certain criteria of financial solvency, then the governor could call an emergency manager. Emergency managers essentially would supplant the elected government and take over all the roles, all the powers of home leadership.
Wow.
So Pontiac had been under 3 different emergency managers for the 10 years before I took office. And it was really a horrible time for the citizens of Pontiac to go under. Pontiac was handled differently by the emergency managers than any other city was under that. And I must say that the way the emergency managers who affected Pontiac, they didn't just write the budget, and find ways to bring in financial solvency. They actually included, particularly the last one, sold off all Pontiac's assets.
Wow.
So, for example, the beloved youth centers that were so much a part of the fabric of people growing up in Pontiac, those were all sold off by the emergency manager. Closed, none. Um, they sold off all the downtown parking lots. So, in terms of our downtown development, that meant that stymied businesses who wanted to do downtown development. But probably the hardest light of all was that he auctioned off the Silverdome. The Silverdome, which had been the pride of Pontiac. We'd had the Lions and the Pistons when they played in Pontiac were playing at the Silverdome.
Wow.
He sold that Silverdome.
And it was
for
cheap,
less
right?
than $800,000.
No way.
Yes way.
I remembered it.
Yes way. And that was the most embarrassing, the tragic thing for the people. We spent
I remember that
$60 million building the Silverdome. That's a fine Pontiac.
How much?
At least $60 million,
Oh my
building the Silverdome. And it was auctioned off for less than $800,000. So, that was what was happening when I ran for office. I ran because I just said Pontiac deserves better than this. What can I do to bring the city back? And so it's interesting that the emergency manager was supposed to leave the city in June 30th of the year of the election. And a funny thing happened. When I, as a dark horse, entered the race, nobody expected me to enter the race. They just knew me as an ophthalmologist. So I was surprised when I entered the race. And they all thought that I was a dark horse because they thought the incumbent mayor would win. Okay. So lo and behold, I surprised everybody and won the primary election.
Okay.
Of the candidates. So something very strange happened. Instead of leaving the town emergency manager and returning home rule, the emergency manager ended up staying till August. And during that time, they rewrote all the rules of his departure. Essentially, they rewrote it, I guess, because I was coming in. And they decided, no, we'd better rewrite that. So they gave all the powers of the emergency manager to somebody called the city administrator. Wow. Okay. So when I came into office, I had essentially an emergency manager that was watching every step. I couldn't hire anyone. I couldn't get a key to City Hall, if you can imagine. So it was like they were daring me to accomplish things for the city.
Okay.
And so I just dug my heels in and I said, people in Pontiac elected me. I'm going to do the job. And I started out with 28 people, employees, but the emergency manager had sourced out everything else. I couldn't hire anybody because I was still under the control of the state treasury. And the city administrator had really all the power. But I just dug my heels in. I figured out I was here to do a job for the people. And at some point, I told the state treasury, I went head to head with the state treasurer. And I said, look, people elected me to bring the city back, and I can't do that the way you have diminished the powers. And so after about 6 months, they realized I had a business head, I had respect, and they started letting me hire people. And I had to rebuild government.
So what does that look like? What does rebuilding government look like in your experience?
Rebuilding government, and this is why it helps to have my business sense came forward. My business sense and a sense of can-do-itiveness. a lot of people wanted me to fight with the Treasury and complain about all the things they'd done to us. And I said, look, there may be a place for somebody to do that, but I can't move this city forward and look backward at the same time.
Mm.
All right. And so I had to almost heal the city as well as in order to heal the citizens in order to heal the city.
Wow.
Because there was a lot of remorse, a lot of backbiting from the citizens about the emergency manager. And I did too. You know, they really did a job on us. But my point was getting in. What was the goal? The goal was to build the city back. So I started out with a $30 million deficit.
Wow.
We were in the whole bad time and we were hemorrhaging money. By the time I left office, I left with a $25 million surplus. Plus, with my administration and the help of the council and other people in town, we had brought in so many businesses that otherwise would not have even considered Pontiac. We had changed the whole narrative about who Pontiac was. You know, they used to think of Pontiac as the little hole in the donut of Oakland County being one of the wealthiest counties in the country.
Right.
And I had too much pride for that. I said, hey, look, we're not anybody's hole in anybody's donut. We're going to change them.
Right.
And we did.
Let's go over those numbers once again.
Yes.
To really magnify what, you know, the achievement that you accomplished. We were in the deficit.
$30 million.
$30 million.
That was the first budget the finance director brought to me. My first 5 months in office
was a negative $30 million.
A negative $30 million and going down.
How do you remember how fast it was going?
And going down.
Okay. You got to clock that. $30 million deficit and dropping. You know how fast? Do you know? Could you remember how fast it was going down?
You know, fast enough that we had to do something positively. Good.
And then how long were those 2 terms?
4 years.
4 years apiece.
4 years. So first 2 years we still were under state treasury. Finally, when I got the budget worked out and began to have businesses trust in what we were doing, set some goals and had a strategic plan for the city.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to know the city's priorities. Now, we were developing ourselves into a different city. We were we had been a manufacturing city that no longer had the manufacturer there.
Right.
So we had to make plans to be a post-industrial city. And I thought it was important to get the public's buy-in in that. You know? And that's one of the things that I've always I've faulted this current administration for not getting the public's buy-in and knowing. I needed to know what the people's priorities were.
Right.
I am here as a messenger of the citizens and what they want. I serve them. So we spent some time really working on bringing the community together, healing the community from what had been done to them, and saying, okay, let's put that behind us. What are we going to do to get this city back on track? I don't want to look at the highlights as if they were all behind us. No, we're going to make it so they're ahead of us too.
Correct.
So I was able to get a grant along with Oakland County to have from the EPA, as a matter of fact, the federal government. And then we were able to spend a year bringing consultants and asking people, what is it you want your city to be? How do you want it to grow? What are the things that are going to make it thrive? And what are the things that you want the government to do for you with your taxpayer dollars? And how can we increase our viability as a city and bring in new businesses? And so we did something. It was a guide, a strategic plan that still is used today to guide people. And it was called Pontiac Moving Forward. All right. And also, it was important to update some of the master plan, the land use. So we spent some time in getting a really good master plan together because so many of our neighborhoods were blighted from these burned out, rat-infested properties, and people couldn't feel safe and couldn't have pride in their neighborhoods. So I convinced the council, let's spend some money on just evaluating this and getting this problem cleared up for all time. You know, something that had been festering in the city for years and years. Let's commit ourselves to doing that, and that we can bring our neighborhoods back to thriving. So those are some of the goals we set early on. Yeah, the first term was 4 years. After 2 years, I was able to get rid of the state treasurer off our back because we had cleared the budget.
Right.
And not only that, we were able to um, restabilize the finances of the city in such a way that by the second term, we were actually winning awards, the GFOA awards, the highest awards awarded for any governments in Michigan in terms of their financial planning and being able to stabilize and have a plan. I always believe that you have to have a plan. You have to have a vision. Having a vision gives something people to bite into, to believe in, to move forward. But without a plan that works, that's realistic, you know, a plan, your vision is just a pipe dream. So as a business person, I brought in a business plan, was happy to bring in people who are also committed to that vision. And by, able to finally reconstitute city government, hire some more people. And I was reelected to the second term. And the second term, we were happy to bring in so many businesses. We brought in $500 million of new businesses, including some companies that were really triumphs to be able to bring them in. Amazon came into town, you know.
So you brought Amazon in.
Amazon came in, you know.
At the Silverdome.
At the Silverdome.
Okay.
Yeah.
So everybody that works at Amazon is working because you were able to turn the city around.
Because we turned the city around and we were able to get them to come in. And very pleased with this. I worked to make the best deals for the city, and that's where my business background comes in handy.
Okay.
And the integrity, because most other cities to bring in Amazon had to give them the base tax abatements. Not Pontiac.
Okay.
I told them, hey, look, you know, we need it more than you do. And I tell you what, you want to do this fast and you want to schedule, I'll do it fast for you. But you do all the structural infrastructure improvements. You pay the $10 million to redo the roads. And they did it.
Okay.
So, hey.
Like that.
So not only Amazon, and I'm naming some of the big things, but we brought in multiple businesses. You know, the whole the area called Bloomfield Park. It used to be called Bloomfield, not Village of Bloomfield. That has Menards and Henry Ford Hospital and Planet Fitness and American House.
Off of Telegraph.
Off of Telegraph. That had sat there before I took office for 10 years because they had gone bankrupt. It was like Stonehenge, they called it, empty buildings. So we were able to use the consortium. I sat on that consortium to find an investor and a developer who is going to tear down those structures, demolish them. And now we have that very thriving, 7/8 of that is in Pontiac. We're collecting tax from that here in Pontiac.
I remember it sitting there. They have built it. It was you just saw the structure for a long time. You just ride past it. They had the gate up with the.
It was like a stone pre-Neanderthal stone age kind of structure right there that was falling in.
And so you finished that job. You were able to get that job finished
under my administration.
Hey, you gotta give it. Because it was up for a long time. I remember that.
10 years.
10 years.
It sat there, just gaping holes.
So who's over there right now? Henry Ford Hospital. You brought them in as well?
Yeah, everybody who's over there came in.
Planet Fitness, I believe.
Planet Fitness. There's a number of retail shops over there. You said American House, the senior living facility. Is there
tucked off in the back.
And then Menards parking lot is always full. People, you guys, a lot of you guys, that's your favorite store, Menards.
You save big money at Menards.
Yeah. So I cut the ribbon at Menards too.
Oh my goodness!
Well, we cut the sawhorse. They brought me a drill and they said cut the sawhorse.
So you did it with a with a saw.
They brought me a saw and they said, okay, electric saw, so we cut the ribbon.
So you are essentially the reason why those businesses are there today.
We were the ones that went out there and said, come to Pontiac.
Wow.
And businesses that had never considered Pontiac before, we changed the whole narrative about Pontiac.
Yeah, because Pontiac never had like, we haven't had like a Walmart or these big retail stores. And so you were able to bring some of these locations. Yeah.
Not to mention United Wholesale Mortgage. We call it United Shore. They have come in and really repurposed that whole South Boulevard corridor.
Correct. Yeah, they employ you.
So the good thing is these people brought in lots of tax base. All right. So that replaced some of the tax base that had been lost when we lost General Motors. And that was the problem. The city was still spending back then, just like General Motors was still here. And that's why we were hemorrhaging money.
Wow.
So we were able to stabilize that by bringing in more businesses. And with increasing the tax base so tremendously, that's why we were able to pass on a surplus to the new administration. And that's why we were able to increase so many of the city services to make them better and make them more expansive. That's what people pay taxes for, and to have that tax base increase. So the load for having better light repair and better street repair and better trash pickup, all the things that people depend upon the government to do, that's increased because we were able to bring in business. And the other highlight of that is when you bring in businesses, I also ended up bringing in 20,000 jobs. 20,000 jobs.
20,000 jobs. Okay.
Wow. So all kinds of jobs. And we were also able to diversify our economy, no longer dependent on just manufacturing. But we had even an aerospace defense contractor, Williams International. And we were able to build up a economic development department that was able to compete with Troy and Commerce Township and some of these other places and bring people to Pontiac. That bad narrative that they had about Pontiac being crime-laden and poorly run, we changed that.
Wow. Yeah, and I've actually, I know people that come from Detroit to work at Amazon. They come all the way from Detroit to go to work and go all the way back.
I'm so proud of a lot of your generation, the Gen Zers and the millennials, who have jobs that we brought to Pontiac.
Wow.
Okay. And they're happy to be here. Every day I run into somebody who says, thank you for the job that you brought. I've got a chance to have a real career here. And I'm here in Pontiac.
Yeah, I don't know how many people knew that. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was done under your leadership. You actually mentioned, because my dad, he worked at GM for 33 years. This is actually his retirement ring. So you mentioned post-industrial economy.
Right.
What is that? Is that like a distribution, or what type of economy is that?
So Pontiac was one of the cities in Michigan that was known as a car town. Depended a lot on General Motors for a lot of revenue. So that was a manufacturing era. But as you know, manufacturing has been changed. And manufacturing has been done by a lot of other outsourced,
China.
There is robotics and the other kinds of things that are coming in. So General Motors, as they were changing and downsizing their tax base here in Pontiac, as well as in the rest of the country, a lot of cities who depended upon that, who did not have some replacement for that, went bankrupt, like Detroit, and like Pontiac was having trouble. So, but some cities that were considered more transformative, that had advanced thinking leadership, prepared for a time when manufacturing was not going to be such a key part of their tax base, and they brought in and diversified their economy. Pontiac hadn't done that.
To more of a tech is what direction did it? Is
High
it technology?
tech, all the kinds of things.
Because I know we live in right now, the era that we're living in. One of my mentors, he says, wealth is created. The majority of wealth is created in the age that we're living in. People who are doing the work in the era that we're living in. So, like you said, those leaders prepared for the shift in the era that the world was going in. And so then was industrial manufacturing. We kind of got into the computer age after that, technology and things like that. And now we're in a digital era.
Right.
And so, we need to be preparing for digital revolution to an extent, or things like that.
There's no reason why Pontiac can't have a cut of all those kinds of things. And that's where we were heading by bringing in all these diversified kinds of different businesses in the district. First, we had to convince them to come to Pontiac. We had to attract them to Pontiac.
Mm-hmm.
And as mayor, that was my chief goal, to increase the economic viability of the city and the solvency, and to do economic development. But I wanted to make sure that economic development, that we weren't, and there's a word for that, but weren't outpricing our own citizens. We had to make sure that we wanted to put in factors that also made sure that our citizens would benefit from the economic development.
Gotcha. Because
that is chief amongst my goals then, and that's why I'm asking for the citizens to reelect me again, because I could see in that, given all that I had left for that administration that followed us, in terms of left them so much money, salvaged the budget, left them a $25 million surplus to work with, and then also was able to bring them in and leave them the $37.7 million in ARPA, that's the American Rescue Plan dollars. So that is something that I fought for the city. That was the last of the federal government grants to count cities and counties and states, to help cities to thrive, to find transformative projects that would help them to thrive and to compensate for all the trouble people had during COVID-19. Because remember, of the two terms, the first the two terms I had, first 4 years, 2 years were with under still state control.
Right.
We got out from that. And then my last 4 years, when I was reelected, the last 2 years, we were under COVID. All right. So COVID was a difficult time for all governments. In fact, remember when we were just trying to keep people alive. All right. And the health and welfare of the citizens is one of the most important parts of the mayor. So I remember very acutely that year when we first found out that that COVID was as much of a health menace, and the governor had told us we may have to shut down all your city halls. And so we had about 2 months to prepare for that. And then when she finally decided you had to do it, she gave us like 3 days. She said, okay, 3 days, everybody's closing down. So we had to prepare for that early on to know how we were going to operate remotely. And we did that. Yes. Not just Pontiac, but everybody. But I was determined to make sure that we didn't have to lay off people, which I didn't, just part-timers. But we did have to, of course, close our senior centers and close our youth center for a period of time. But I was very proud to have done that, and also to have brought the healthcare and vaccination centers to Pontiac, because when the vaccinations first came out, because it took a while, we were all just running around with masks and sanitizing everything in sight because they didn't have a vaccination for it, remember, at the beginning of the crisis of the pandemic. So when they had the vaccination, the county opened up a vaccination site way out in Novi. Well, my seniors in Pontiac, some of them didn't have access to go all the way out to Novi. So one of the things I championed with the state, with the county government, is I want you to bring a vaccination site right here to one of our senior citizens in Pontiac. So we did that. So we took care of our seniors, and I think our seniors, taking care of your seniors, is one of the high parts um, in my platform, because the care and feeding of our seniors is something that should be high up in any administrator's priorities in our mind. And so that was part of my priority, to make sure that they got a vaccination center right here in Pontiac at their own senior center. And also, even though we had to close down the senior centers because they were the most vulnerable population, I still kept my staff working by doing wellness calls. And also, we worked with Meals on Wheels to make sure that the people who needed prepared meals, that we made sure they had prepared meals that they could pick up just by driving through. Um, and we ended up doing 250,000 meals during the pandemic, just servicing our senior population to make sure that they were cared for and knew that they were a valuable part of the population. And that's what I will continue to do if elected mayor, because our seniors are a very vital part of this administration and of this community, and they deserve to know that we value them and want to watch over their needs and their safety.
So that 37 million for the what you call ARP is called
ARPA money, yeah, that was left under this administration. So they had a lot to work with, and there was a lot of hope that, particular with that $37.7 million, that they would use it to do something transformative, particularly to um, to support so many of our citizens who have been adversely affected by COVID-19, and our small businesses that were still struggling to survive. And there's a story behind that $37.7 million too. That's important to note. When it was first announced how much different cities and states and counties were going to get from this American Rescue Plan money, Pontiac was only slated to get $5.8 million. And I looked around and I said, no, I see some other cities that are getting much more than that are in our same situation.
Right.
And to tell the truth, I had to investigate that. Long story short, the reason Pontiac got that small amount was because they calculated on a formula that capped us in with Oakland County. Well, Oakland County has a much different economic demographic than the citizens of Pontiac. So realizing that, I realized that we had been doing wrong. And so I researched it, got help from some of our legislators, and they told me, hey, look, write a letter to the United States Secretary of the Treasury, Janet Yellen, and to get Pontiac declared as a metropolitan city for 1 year. And that way they can recalculate the formula. So I did that. And instead of getting $5.8 million, we got $37.7 million.
Wow.
That can help our citizens, our homeowners, and our small businesses that were struggling to survive and come back after COVID.
Okay.
And that is what I was very proud of, to pass on, that inherited by this next administration.
Which is the current administration.
The current administration.
And so have they, have they...
That has been bungled and mishandled, and that's one of the reasons that I have continued to follow up, because that money should have been used, could be used for so many more citizens, and it's just been mishandled by this administration.
Wow.
And so I continue to go. Some people said, "Hey, look, we don't see past mayors around much, but we appreciate the fact that you're still going to council meetings fighting for us." And was able to get some changes made in the way that money was funded. They have given out some of the funding, but not enough to the people that I promised it to, that should be getting it. So many homeowners couldn't even get an application to the program because it was cut down the first day. That's horrendous. Many more homeowners deserve to get that money that we fought for.
Wow.
And our small businesses. A lot of our small businesses didn't even know that they were eligible and it was available. So as the administration has gotten council to approve plans to expend that money, they've been delay after delay, excuse after excuse. Programs have run late. There have been no policy and procedures. Finally set up a date for people to apply for it, and then they changed the rules. In the meantime, and so just really badly handled. And the latest like breaking news, which comes interesting now as people are starting to vote who's going to be the next leader, and I kind of shared that with some people on my Facebook post, but this was an Oakland Press article. This is a copy of it. Came out Friday, Friday, July 25th. And it talks about the fact that the title is Red Tape Files Finances for City Contractors. And essentially what the story says is that apparently there has been such a counting of irregularities in the way the administration has handled this money and has distributed the money that the money is now frozen. They are forbidden from sending that. And that means a lot of people who had done the work, who had depended upon this money, are not being paid. Some of them have been waiting over a year.
The same 37.
The $37.7 million. And this is atrocious.
Wow.
This is atrocious. It's no reason for this. And it's just bad administration. It's a lack of faith to our people who really, some of them wanted to have their share of this money. And I'm championing that for them.
Wow.
So this is happening. I kind of knew that things weren't going right from the way, and I kept telling council, pay attention to this. Don't let them take $10 million out of this money and put it in the general fund. So that's why I've continued to go to council. That's why I've continued to stay involved, and that's why I'm running for office.
Wow.
Because Pontiac deserves better, and I want to see that I can have a part in righting that wrong.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've done. I have here a list of 10 of your legacy projects. I see the 37.7 million listed, and you have quite a few. We'll actually go through these, but yeah, it seems like you accomplished a lot during your first two terms.
Right.
So I don't, I think as a vet, you're pretty much a veteran mayor to an extent. Like the intro mentioned, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a groundbreaker to an extent, a pioneer. That's the word I was looking for.
Well,
somewhat of a pioneer of the city. We probably need someone like you said. Pontiac deserves better. We need someone with the experience and the achievements under their belt. So I see a correlation there. I don't know what other people are seeing, but one question I wanted to ask was who, as far as the everyone that's running, how do you see? Who do you think is best to be the next mayor of Pontiac? And obviously you'll be biased, maybe biased, with you being one of the candidates. But why do you feel like you are the best candidate, if that's the case?
I am going to answer that question by giving you this same platform that I give the citizens of Pontiac who I asked for their vote. And it is on the same premise that you just mentioned, that I am the candidate amongst all those who are running this time, that many of them talk and promise things that I have actually done in the city of Pontiac under my administrations.
Okay. Good.
And proud of it. I consider that an honor when people trust me. And one of the things that is most important to me is integrity. and to do the best job I can and to be transparent. And that is one of the things that I see not happening in this administration. And I think a lot of people are very disappointed with the last 4 years, given all the things that we gave this administration to work with.
They came in with a leg up.
They spent all the money, but they didn't look at the priorities of the people here.
Mm-hmm.
Who wanted the roads fixed? Now, there still is no plan for doing this roads. We have $300 million in road repair that we need right now. It's just deferred from so many years an emergency manager that got behind. But that's what they want. The Martin Luther King Bridge, there's so much controversy over that.
Yes.
That is something that is, and I think the problem with that is not so much that it's a inconvenience to the people, but the fact that they had been told so many different things and why the project was delayed. And that's just a problem that people have lost faith with this administration. And I do hold somewhat the one of the other candidates who's running, who's president of city council, because the council president has a lot of power, particularly now since the new charter makes the council president full time. And they were complicit in just not insisting that the government be transparent. And so delay after delay in awarding the grants for our small business, delay in starting any of the grant programs for small business, delay in getting started on the Martin Luther King Bridge, and giving people different answers about that.
Hello, I'm Dr. Deirdre Waterman, here as a candidate for your next mayor, and I'm asking for your vote in the August 5th primary, which is coming up soon. This is a primary election, which is a pivotal election for the people in Pontiac to decide who will take the leadership for the next stage of Pontiac's comeback. Pontiac's comeback, which started, as you remember, with my first term in office, when we linked arms together and had Pontiac progress from the effects of the emergency manager. We went from a $30 million deficit, a hole, and together we found a way to have sound financial planning that was award-winning budgeting, and we're able to bring the city's economy back up to a $25 million surplus that the next administration inherited. We also left a $37.7 million chest of money called the ARPA, COVID-19 Federal Relief Grant Funding, that was to help our neighborhoods to thrive again, to benefit our community, for our homeowners and our small businesses. So we have so much going for us in our turnaround. Let's link arms together and to honor that progress that we have already made in our choice for leadership that's so very pivotal to our continued progress. I'm a 50-plus year resident of Pontiac, and we have so much to be proud of right here in Pontiac. Our Pontiac pride, our diversity, which makes us stronger, our strength and resilience, and our cultural diversity. Those are all things. And when we have a shared vision and we link our arms together, we can move forward with a real plan, not a pipe dream, but something that puts Pontiac residents first. We want to make sure that the priorities of government are the priorities of what our citizens want and need. And we also want to have an economic plan that benefits our small businesses, small and large businesses. We don't want them to be shut out or priced out of the profits to be gained. That's important to me and to you to help this community thrive. It's symbolic that I choose to deliver this message standing in front of our own 50th District Court right here in downtown Pontiac, a court that was dedicated and renamed in the honor of my late husband, the Judge William J. Waterman Hall of Justice. He was known as a warrior for justice, and he was one of the homegrown heroes who fought for equity and justice and equal education for our children here in Pontiac. He established a legacy of integrity and honor, and that I feel duty bound to continue that legacy. And I pledge I will do that as elected as your next mayor, and I ask for your vote to continue that legacy. So let's continue this comeback we started together, and don't let anyone sidetrack us. In your choices for mayor in the upcoming election, remember, the same people who recommended Mayor Jukowski and Mayor Grimel to us, and you see where that got us, are now endorsing a candidate who they're putting enormous money behind to buy your vote. So be wary. On the other hand, I will continue to stand up and look out for the priorities of residents and small businesses who make this city what it is. And it is my mission not to let them get cut out or priced out of the economic progress of the city that we've waited so long for. So let me sum up my platform for you, the major points. I pledge to bring back transparent government that puts the priorities of residents first. I have a real plan with a realistic budget to repair our bad roads, and I will emphasize and demand attention to expediting a truthful schedule for repairing the Martin Luther King Bridge that we have been given excuse after excuse for the delays. Let's stop that. For economic development, let's continue smart economic development. I will continue to make smart deals that benefit the city and not just benefit the next step up the career ladder like we've witnessed lately amongst some parties. I'll be focused on the benefits to Pontiac residents and small businesses first, so they don't get priced out or lose out on a share of the benefits from opportunities like what has happened with the $37.7 million ARPA federal COVID-19 grant fund that the Oakland Press disclosed last week that payments have been shut down due to accounting irregularities of this current Grimel administration. What a loss to all the vendors and contractors who had depended upon their grants and on payments for work they had done months, even a year ago. That's sad for the loss because of this bureaucratic misappropriation and administration. I'll also be focused on continuing to provide incentives for developers to create more affordable housing and curbing homelessness because I believe every human being should be given access to safe, clean, affordable housing in a community. Let's talk about the uptick of gun violence, particularly the tragic uptick in our youth that are senselessly shooting each other down in the streets. This continues to threaten the safety of our neighborhoods and the peaceful enjoyment of our community. So, under my administration, we would have a laser focus on supporting measures to create safe neighborhoods, such as emphasizing more community policing and neighborhood security measures, such as security lighting and warning devices. And I would also encourage neighborhood citizen watch groups and would emphasize that the city should underwrite these ventures. To further support our youth, I would expand upon collaborations with the Pontiac School District and other organizations such as PAL and the Promise Zone and the Oakland University Pontiac Partnership. We want them to help restore more youth recreational and enrichment facilities for our youth. And we want to provide them safe spaces to network and to play, and opportunities for career preparation and workforce development. And that brings up the Youth Recreation Center. The current mayor, like the emergency manager, closed down the youth center that we had operational, that the children loved. And he convinced the council to do that rather than buy and purchase so that the youth would have a place of their own, because he promised that he would build a new one with a swimming pool. Well, long story short, after 4 years of this new administration, all we have to show for the youth center he closed is a hole in the ground. That's sad, and that's not showing investment in our youth like a community should do. Additionally, what I would do is to bring in more young leaders, people who are interested in learning more about civic duties and how governments work. Provide mentorship and training, career development in civic jobs and government leadership. It would be very rewarding to be mentoring and to give opportunities to young leaders who are engaged and interested and empowered to take over the helm of government. That would be my legacy and my service on many years of government duty. So you see, we've come a long way together, Pontiac. Let's continue our growth, linked together in success toward our comeback. I've shown you how experience matters, and I won't need training wheels. I'll be ready to move forward the very first day in office to benefit Pontiac and to make your priorities what moves the city government forward. That's a good thing. I think I've shown you proven leadership and proven results. The fact that Pontiac is open for business, ready to succeed. I brought in all these businesses, 18,000 jobs, and we're ready to move forward again. So with that, I ask for your vote and your support. Vote for Deirdre Waterman on your ballot on the August 5th primary election. And also remember the slogan, Pontiac wins with Waterman.